Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Patty, and today I'm going to talk to you about my journey through uh, 2020 to present. In 2020, I was living I moved down to Yuma, Arizona in January, and we were living there, and I had said I was never going to get another dog because, my dog had died that I'd rescued, and then I had him 8 years, and then he was 14. He'd passed away in September, and I just said, that's too hard. I ain't going to do that again. And so see, that's reflecting. I said, that's too hard. But then I get down to Arizona, and everybody, this is a 55 plus, and everybody has these dogs. And so then I started looking at the rescue place, and I saw this cute pug, and he was 1 year old, and I sent my kids the picture of him from the Humane Society, and they're like, Mom, get down there, be there tomorrow morning when they open and get him. I'm like, okay, we're going to go see him. So in the morning, my brother and I ran over there quick when they opened, and they're like, oh, he was just transferred to the PetSmart in the mall this morning. I'm like, okay. So we hurry and leave there. We get over there to the mall, and I go in and see him, and he was the sweetest boy. He was great, and I loved him, and he loved me right away, and we're like, yes. We hit it off right away, and I said, yes. And so they put the hold on the thing, and I went out and filled out the paperwork and was getting him, and then someone else came in, and they're like, oh, why does the pug have no paperwork? And they go, oh, because he's already bought. They're like, oh, darn. It was like, oh, yeah. He's what I needed. I mean, he was a chunk. So we're going to leave there. We got a harness and everything. Well, he had never walked. He had been rescued on the street. So apparently he'd never been on a leash. He didn't know how to walk. We start going a couple feet. So I end up having to carry him all the way out to the pickup and for us to bring him home. And he loved riding in my brother's pickup, and he loved my brothers and my brother-in-law that lived in the park, and my other friends and my cousin. And so when we'd go walking every morning, he knew the way, and he'd swing in, have to say hi, good morning to my brother-in-law at his thing, and then we'd go out back in the thing and play on the fields. And then this other gal moved there, and she had 2 boxers, and then they would go with us, and oh my goodness, they liked to run. Well, his little short legs, it was funny watching. He'd go the first round with them in this field, and then he would just sit there and like, I'm going to wait for you, because the time he'd get out there, they'd already be back. So he was hilarious. He was funny. And then we would leave there. They'd go home, and he'd have to go by my other brother's house to get a treat. And then one of our friends would be waiting outside with some cheese for him, as he'd be waiting for us to come by, and he'd have to swing in first to my cousin who lived one trailer before them. And then, of course, our other friends that we met, when they came in May, oh, God, they loved him, and he had to go visit them, and they fell in love with him, and he'd go over and to their house, and they'd say, well, what do you want? And he'd go, tell them that he wanted cheese. He knew what they would give him was cheese, but they'd ask him to talk to him first, and he was the sweetest, and and so then then COVID hit, and everything changed in the park, and, we had fun that year. And then the second year in 2021, COVID was still there, things were, but we all had, like the new friends, they were there year round with us. And so, there wasn't that many people there year round, and we'd go to the pool every afternoon, and then we'd go, hang out, and we'd do barbecues together, and it was great. And then in the fall, they, all the others come back, most of them and stuff, but things just weren't the same because, COVID, and so activities had to be, but our group, there was like 10, 12 of us in our group. We still got together. We, sorry to say, but none of us got shots. We all said, nope, we are not. And none of us in our group got COVID. All the other ones who got shots, they got COVID. They didn't hang out with us. They weren't near us. They had their mask on practically 24/7, and nope, we didn't. And none of us have those health problems, and none of us have that kind of stuff. So take what you want, but that's my belief. I wouldn't get it, just like I won't get the flu shot. I had gotten it a couple times way back in my late 20s, early 30s, and every time I got it, then I got the flu right after. And I said, nope, and after that, I never got it. Never got the shot and never got the flu. Just survived. But anyway, so going along, trying to diet, still, doing Weight Watchers online, counting my calories, walking my dog, lots of times, walking through the park, swimming in the pool, an hour a day, sometimes 2 hours, and it just, nothing worked. And then in 2022, I sold my trailer and bought a trailer in a different park because ours, they almost doubled our rent, and it just wasn't worth it for the shape the park was in. And so many of the people that they wanted to run everything, and they were the COVID squad, and they wanted to run everybody, and they treated all of us bad. And so everybody in the group and a lot of the park ended up losing a lot of people because of them. They didn't rein them in, and because of the company that had bought the park. The park now, a few years later, it was empty, and then they chased out the rest of them that had been there in this, because they did go back after we had left and stuff to the reasonable price, but they chased away all those people. It's now they've raised the rent super high. They went and put in all kinds of stuff, and now they think that they're, in Sun City or Phoenix or something, the prices that they're charging. It's like they think that that's, and it's not. This is Yuma, Arizona. It's a poor area. The people, but they think they're going to fill this park. They got all these, what do they call them? They're and they want to sell them, and they're like, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for a one little bedroom, one bath little thing, and a lot of the people were from Canada and stuff that came down, well, with the exchange rate and all the other rules, and then with the price so high, they couldn't, and so a lot of them quit coming, or they moved their trailers that they had there, they moved them to other places. So anyway, we moved to a different park. My brother sold his trailer and moved there, and my other brother moved back up north. So my brother and I lived in the same park again, and our other friends moved. One's bought a house out in the foothills away from us, but we still get together, and they're great friends. But then a couple of the other ones got like a couple parks just down the street, like half a mile from here. They got trailers there, so we all get together yet when they're here in the fall. But then my brother decided he was going to move up by the Phoenix area, and right before, and then all of a sudden my dog, he was only 2 years old. Well, no, because I got him in 20, so he was born in 19. He was 3 years old. And all of a sudden one day he just wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink, and and I got him in. I called, and it really made me mad because my vet, they're like, well, we don't I said, you can't walk him in. He is not drinking. He's not eating. He can't get up the steps by himself. Something is wrong. He's young. Well, call back tomorrow. Maybe we can work you in then. So we end up taking him. I called my brother, and he was on the golf course, but he came running home, and we took Bugsy, my doggy, to the emergency vet hospital, and he ended up spending like $7,000-8,000. They tried to save him, but he had acute pancreatitis. Don't know why. Something in his system that, that was hard. To lose another one, I'm like, nope, nope, nope. Some days I think and I look and I'm like, maybe someday. But then I'm like, when I start thinking, and then I'm like, no, 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 no. And so anyway, after he passed, a couple months later, I sold my trailer and I moved back up to Fargo, North Dakota, and I lived there for until when I fell and busted my knee in 2023. Yeah, on black ice. The apartment building wasn't taking care of things that they were supposed to, and I fell on black ice, busted my kneecap in 3 places, had to be taken by ambulance. My whole leg wouldn't work because the top and the bottom weren't talking because they were both disconnected, the things. And so then I had to have surgery. I had a couple screws in there and some other banding that they do to like weave it and hold it. And then the recovery from that was very hard. But I was still trying to lose weight. I, still hung around the 225. It didn't matter what I was doing. Sitting there and I was laid up. I had to sit. Luckily, I had the one end of my couch had a chase on it because I had a brace that was like thigh high to ankle. And for 3 months, I had to sit with that leg straight, no bending, so that it could heal. And then after that, slowly, for a couple weeks, like they released it where I could do 20%, and then eventually to the full 90 degrees that I could have it, and then I didn't have to wear the brace anymore. And so then I stayed there though but when winter came again, I had panic attacks. I wouldn't leave the apartment building because I was afraid. My kids physically had to, because I had a doctor appointment, my son had to come and walk me and, watch and make sure that there was no ice. And it was awful having, these attacks that you're afraid you're going to fall, because let me tell you, when you fall after you're 60 years old, and you've ever broken a bone, you know that you don't want to do that again, ever. And so I said, I can't. So I worked on getting things in order, and I got a settlement from the apartment building, and I said, I'm going back down to Yuma. I bought a trailer here. I'd got a different car, and I moved down here. It was already furnished, and I thought it was going to be okay, And so that was in November of 2024, I came back down. And then in January of 2025, well, before I came down, my daughter had started talking about she'd gotten on semaglutide. And my son, through his doctor, because he had predated whatever, he was put on Ozempic, and he was starting to lose, and he got his A1C back in check and stuff. But of course, Medicare would not cover it, and there's no way I didn't have any extra $4, $5, $6, $7, $800 a month to buy it. And so, well, then my daughter was, through some connections that she got, I guess you'd call it black market. It was the powder, and then you had to mix it with the back, back, Bacostat or whatever water. And then she got me some in January of 2025. On January 14th, I started with it, and at that point I was 226 pounds, and I started on the semaglutide, and I slowly, the noise started going away. That always called me. There was always this, like, if there was any chocolate, and I would put in my grocery order, and I would say, nope, I'm not getting any of those, I'm not getting any chips, nope, I made a list, sticking to that. But I would always get them, and then I'd say, okay, put them out there where they're not visible. And you end up still, something kept telling me, it's like it knew it was out there. Go get it. You really need it. You really need it. Go. Why? You've been good. You're still keeping your calories under the 1,200. I was tracking everything, but by tracking those in there, then it was like some of the other things that I should have been having, because you're keeping those calories there. And I was exercising, not a lot at that point. I had my peddler that it's like an under desk type thing, but I sit on the chair and do it. I was pedaling an hour a day because that's what my orthopedic surgeon had recommended I get and do. And so I had been doing that. And I was slowly losing, and then my numbers were doing good. When I went in, I had a doctor's appointment, and I didn't tell her what I was doing at that time, but I had lost like 10 pounds, 10, 12, I think, when I went in April. So it was like 3 months, and I was like at 213 by then. So that would have been 13 pounds in the 3 months. Yeah, the 3 months, because that was like April, mid-April. And so, my numbers were good and everything. And so then I was still doing this. And then we had trouble getting. And then I went to a telehealth company. I can't even remember the name now. But I had gotten like 3 months worth for $500. But it was semaglutide, but compound. And then I was doing that. And that was like 100, it was like 100, you bought up 3 months at one time. And so then it was like 100, it averaged like $167 a month. So, and I kept slowly, and then my daughter really wanted me to come back up, and she was working nights and doing double shifts, and she was driving an hour each way to work. And then my son-in-law's a diabetic ever since he was a teenager, and he's had all kinds of health problems because of that. And with her not being able to be home, the meals he wasn't, so she's like, Mom, can you come and live here with us, you won't have to pay anything, and so I put my trailer up for sale. But then, of course, recession thing hit here, in the 2025, and Canadians were selling theirs like crazy. Everybody, I'd only bought it a year before, and now nobody's, they don't want to pay what you paid, because now they could get them for nothing, and I just couldn't do that. So I was still paying my lot rent here, which is like $500 a month, even though I finally had it for sale a few months and did all the showings and things and had a couple people interested, but then they didn't qualify to come into the park because they weren't old enough. And then the other one, their credit. And then the one he signed, then he backed out because he decided to go live with his brother somewhere. And so that's when I said, nope, I'm going up north and I'll close it up and keep it for sale. The park was showing it. And so in November, I got back up, in September, I went back up to North Dakota there to be at my daughter's and sent most of my stuff. So then we put my stuff that I took with in a storage unit and said, well, maybe I'll, if the trailer sells, then I can eventually get an apartment that apartment rents up there I've gotten. And so living there, and then my grandpuppies are there. And then shortly after I got there, just a week or so later, one of my favorite aunts died suddenly of a heart attack. And I was really close, or I'd just gotten under I made it to Wonderland. And everybody's like, oh, when I went to the funeral, you're looking really good and stuff, because by then I had lost like 27 pounds or something. And things were, still going down. But the sizes, were some there, and I'm one who always wear baggy stuff, so, because, you think if thinking you wear something big that people can't, notice, yeah, right. But, and then in November, I switched to tirzepatide through a different telehealth company. I went off the other one, and then I was just stretching it out, and then it was like, wow. When I went on that, it really, there was no noises. The head was clear, and every month, the weight still went, I've averaged like 3 overall till right now. It's like 3/4 of a pound a week, which is perfect. But, at that point, the tirzepatide kicked in the fat loss. It was like every month I was down a whole size in clothing. If I bought something, and it's like, whoa, these don't fit. These are really super baggy now. And went to try something, and then went to, my brother-in-law passed away, the one that had come in the winters in the park where I lived before. He passed away from cancer, and so at his funeral, people are like, wow, this is like the very first part. He died like the day after Thanksgiving. Yeah, right. He died on the 30th of November. And then the funeral was the first week of December, and when I went there that day, all my cousins that I hadn't seen and all that, they're all like, and my uncle, my dad's baby brother, who is the only one left of their family of 11, he's like, what happened to you? You've lost your stomach. And it's like, everybody was like, whoa, and they thought that, a lot of them thought that I was my sister, my oldest sister. And it was kind of good to see these people, and because they'd always all kind of looked down on me, but then all of a sudden they were all like, oh, hi, it's like amazing that how different you get treated when you've lost the weight. And then, yeah, every month, then Christmas, and I was like, whoa. And then by April, I was down to 168 or whatever, and I went to see my doctor up there for a yearly thing and to get my refills on some things, and she's like, wow, she's like, oh, I'm proud of you. And yeah, and all my numbers, everything was in the green zone, all my cholesterol, all the stuff that had always been, and my A1C was down to 5.2. She goes, you're not even in the pre-diabetes category no more on the A1C. And my, see, all the time, even when I was dieting and watching, even if I was taking that, I could never get that morning fasting blood sugar to be below 120, in the 120s. And it's something that hereditary in our family though. And that's when, like, the doctor had told me here that that's insulin resistance that I had. And that's what the GLP-1s had cured that too. And that's why I have, now it's a normal, like 90 in the mornings and stuff, and I don't have the, and it is funny too, after, when the noise stops, calling you and telling you, oh, you should have this, or, worrying about everything, it's amazing that when the things that meant so much, that, like, your comfort food, which was like sour cream and cheddar Ruffle chips or the Hershey's almond bar. And now I had a chip one day and it was like, it didn't taste good. It tasted too salty, and it wasn't the feeling that I used to get from it because I wasn't looking for the comfort food anymore, I guess. So now my brain says the true thing, that they're not that great and they're really salty, and the chocolate isn't something. Now there can be chocolates in the fridge for months and months and months. They don't call me. I see them. I don't even, doesn't want it. I don't want it. It's just kind of weird. And I've gotten down to, well, this morning I was 162.2. It's the lowest I've gotten. I haven't been this weight. When I got to like 165, 170, I hadn't been that since I was 16 years old, 50 years ago. And when I was that weight, I could not fit into a size 12 blue jeans. Now I can wear size 12s, and we don't have to lay down to get them buttoned or anything, and they fit. It's, and no needing 2X things, certain shirts are large, but I can even fit in stretchy pull-on pants, shorts I get, mediums. I've even got some that are smalls and they fit. It's something that I never thought. When I first started on this journey, I said, first, if I get below 200, it'll be a miracle, and I'd be happy. But then, and then I said, well, I'll never get to 165. That was always something I wanted to get back to. And now I'm there. And you get treated differently. People look differently at you. They don't just say, oh, you have such a pretty face, tired of that from your youth and stuff, It's like, oh, thank you, And it has taken a while for my face to lose a lot of that, and today I do have some swelling in the area because other things going on. But I inherited my father's face, which was a rounder face, but it is getting, some days it really, the thing, I'm like, wow, I actually have like a little chin that comes, so I don't have like three, things that are there. It's a whole liberating of your life, to know that you can go anywhere, because before that it was always like, well, what am I going to eat? And will they have chairs, or will it be a booth? And if it's a booth, is it one where you can kind of move the table, or are they a permanent table there? And are you going to be able to slide your butt in there? Just like, but I got the size 12 jeans, and I'm holding them up, and I'm like, wow, they're this small. That they're not going to fit. Told my daughter, I'll try them on, but they're not going to fit. And when they did, it's like, what? I fit into those? That was like so amazing that it's something. And I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I had this a long time ago, or even like if I had had this along with the gastric bypass, I would have, 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, been able to succeed. And, because it only let me get to a certain point and then it wouldn't go past. This would have actually worked along with it, and I could have been there more for my kids, because being so overweight when they were little, I mean, when I'm looking back and I'm like, you go to a funeral and you see all these like boards these people have up of all the life of, I'm like, my kids ain't going to be able to make one like that. They've got some when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, but after that, very few. And then once I got to teenage years, no, there ain't no pictures of me other than the yearly one that they took, in school. And I never liked those. But other than that, I took pictures, but I wasn't in them. And there's very few of me with my kids. It was always them and their dad. And he was the one who ended up taking them places, because I was uncomfortable to get into things. And, I feel so bad for that. And, and as teenagers, they lost their dad. And then I was, able to do some things with them by then, because I'd had the gastric surgery and had gotten down, to the 200 and a little bit above. But still, there was so many things, and it had caused some health issues that still, and anxiety and things of not wanting to get out and do things, and always that noise in the head, not, well, what am I gonna eat, and I still have some stomach there, and life is just, but life now is like, I can go anywhere, I can do anything, I don't have to, worry, okay, I know if I want to go flying the plane, I don't have to worry that the seatbelt is going to fit. I can go in a store and buy things. So life has, I'm still on the tirzepatide. I did go to my doctor the other day, the one down here, and I hadn't seen her in over a year. It was like 15 months. And when she saw me, she's like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. And when she saw the weight, she's like, oh my goodness. And she was so sweet. She's like, I'm so proud of you. And then because now Social Security, Medicare they've started a new thing. It's called the Bridge Plan. It goes into effect if you're on Social Security, Medicare, and you have a plan, and you have the Part D. I have the Advantage plan, and I have Part D. It's called the Bridge Plan, and I'll be able to go, instead of, I'm finishing up the compounded stuff that I had from the telehealth, and I'll be able to get Zepbound, the pen, $50 a month on this plan that will run from July 1st of 2026 until December 31st of 2027. It's a government program that they're trying out for seniors, and if it works with seniors and it's able to be processed through the something they've set up, the $50 doesn't count towards our prescription thing or whatever, but you get the name brand. And so she's got all the information, and as soon as she's got the website saved on her thing where she can put in for me, and because it goes by, like when I started my journey on GLP-1s, at that point, I was at 41 point something. Let me see if I even got it down here. I know I had it when I was there. But I was like at 41 point something BMI. It was over 41. And now I'm at 29. And a few more pounds. I'm slowly still going. It just, it goes like where 1 week I like stay at the same weight and then now like today, now this time I dropped down another pound and whatever. And hope, and if I get, so when I get there, I've got probably 20 pounds of skin hanging on my body, thighs and stomach, but arms, but I'm 66 years old and that's the way it is. But, I think I'll know when I get there. I said I don't, when I work for a doctor, if I get to 150, I think that will be in the area that I want to be and what will look good, that with the skin and all that stuff. So I'm still going to continue on, and I may just do one a week here, giving you updates on like how it's going, and once we see how that goes on the bridge plan. And when I get now, see, I've always done the injection myself, where I pull out the units and inject myself. So using the pen, and I'll be having the actual Zepbound instead of the compound tirzepatide. So we'll see. But I'm excited to see where, if I can get there and to see the life and see if other things in life, and I may like give other updates on things, but happy that you came along, and I hope you want to continue to come along and see I'll just do like one a week, giving you an update. I like Thursdays is my shot days, so if I do the update around then, and then try to get out a video. But I hope that you'll want to continue and come with me on the journey. Hopefully, if any of you have questions of being in your 60s and, I'm by myself, living the life. Yeah, a recluse. Like, it's 101 degrees outside, so it's like you stay inside with the air conditioning. I do have to take the stuff down to the dumpster, so I'll have to start the car and let it cool off before I even go out there. Got the back end full of stuff because I got a new couch, and when you get all that cardboard and stuff, well, I put it in the car, and then I said, well, once I go down there. So I hope that you will subscribe and come along and join me on the rest of this life journey. And thank you, and if you have any questions, leave a comment. Thank you. We'll see you again. Bye.